Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Deer Maker. Yes, this is where I'm gonna be ranking all enemies in Corebound. Yes, I played Corebound, and I also decided to make a tier list of how dangerous of all of these enemies in the game. So, I'm gonna be asking based on their practical they are and how dangerous they are. 1. Practicality. 2. Design. And 3. The threat level. Now, just in case you also played Corebound, because I played Corebound and I decided to rank how dangerous of all these enemies are. And I'm also gonna make a tier list of all Corebound items. With that out of the way, let's begin. Alright, let's move on to the lost scrapyard enemies. First up is Box. S tier. Box is one of the most adorable enemies in the game, and also it even is a very common enemy that drops some starting items you could use. Next is a Springling, another S tier. Springling is a very common enemy based on and also it drops turret and a spring. Springling is a very common enemy that also comes in groups. Next is Roller, B tier. Roller is also a very common enemy, but much like Springling, instead of it drops spring, it drops motor instead. There's nothing special about Roller, and worst of all, it isn't cute to know. Next is a Scraplash. S tier. Scraplash is a very dangerous enemy because it always comes in groups with Scraplashes. Also, they use their snipers towards you and deals high amount of damage in the lost scrapyard. It only saves up Ranger and overdrive cells. Now, the boss of lost scrapyard, Dreadnought. Another S tier. Dreadnought is much like Scraplash, but more stronger. It comes in groups with Scraplashes to overwhelm you. However, it has saving grace of great loot, Ranger and overdrive cells. Next is the Spectrum. No doubts about it. S tier. The Spectrum is a secret enemy that's only found in the lost scrapyard. To find it, you must climb up. You must use your hook shots to climb up and then find it. It's also dropping core filters. Core filters are cosmetic items. Alright, let's move on to the crystal quarry enemies. First up is Drill, C tier. Drill is just a very bad enemy in the crystal quarry. It's probably about like a very common enemy, but unfortunately you don't need to worry about it. Next is Bubble Mound, S tier. Look at it, it's so harmless and cute, but do not get fooled by its cute face. Bubble Mound has bubbles with it, and if you pop the bubble inside of it, it breaks free and rolls wherever it goes to. Also drops the best items in the game. Next is Wire Maw, A tier. Wire Maw is a very dangerous enemy because it often uses a hook shot at you and it grabs you and it comes and tries to grab you to it, and it won't let you go until you or if get destroyed. If you get eaten by it, it's gonna end up pretty terrible for you. Next is Bulk Striker, another A tier. Bulk Striker is a very dangerous enemy because it is probably like something like a squid or like a kraken. Though it's A tier because Bulk Striker currently holds the highest single attack damage in the game. Just like Wire Maw, if you get hit, it's gonna end up pretty terrible for you, much as like Wire Maw. Now, the boss of Crystal Quarry, Lurk Strider, A tier. Lurk Strider is a very dangerous boss because it shoots a rain of bullets. But there's more than one Lurk Strider because there is 3 Lurk Striders that you have to deal with, and they follow you when you run away. And if you come and chase them, they run away from you to back up. Now, the secret enemy in Crystal Quarry, Volthard, B tier. Volthard is a secret enemy that's very rare and difficult to find. And also, it drops only one core filter and also drops the Surge Crystal. If you want to upgrade the Surge Crystal, you can take advantage of the items you have that you could upgrade with. Because again, when Volthard drops the Surge Crystal, I would put Volthard into A tier if it dropped more than one core filter. Alright, let's move on to the Beacon City enemies. First up is Raps, solid B tier. Raps is nothing more than a simple starter enemy, and it follows you wherever you go and deals decent amount of damage. Next is Flaring, absolute garbage, D tier. Flaring shoots 4 bullets in 4 directions, and they are supposed to be dangerous because they come in groups, but they are easily destroyed before they can even shoot at you. Also, they cannot aim their bullet towards you, and 2 or 3 of their bullets are always almost useless. The only redeeming point that Flarings have is that they are very common enemies that drop overdrive cells. Also, they drop Nova, currently the best weapon in the game, but even it is a very common enemy that drops overdrive cells and drops Nova. It is enough to put it up to C tier. It's just a terrible enemy and the worst stage to farm anything in. Next enemy is Throne Weaver, absolute D tier. Throne Weaver's attacks are just really bad, terrible in all factors. It is arguably the weakest and most useless enemy in the game. By the time you move on, there's Throne Weavers trying to attack you. You have already avoided its attack, so it misses you 99% of the time. Throne Weaver also drops drones, currently the best tech item in the game. But even if it does drop drones, it is enough to put it up to C tier, just like Flaring, but more better than C tier, A tier, or S tier. It's just a terrible enemy in the worst stage to farm anything in. Next enemy is the Purveyor, S tier. The Purveyor is one of my favorite enemies of all. Like, everybody knows that the Purveyor is not even an issue It is probably the weakest enemy, but I consider the Purveyor as one of my favorite enemies in the game. Now, the boss of Beacon City, Orbital, A tier. Orbital is one of the better designed boss enemies, and it like uses red circles at that, and it reveals the path of the orbs. It reveals the path of the orbs, and it follows you wherever you go, and deals decent amount of damage. And its loot drops are great and useful. Also, it drops the shield unit, the best and most important item in the game. I would put Orbital in S tier if it didn't drop Ranger. It was one of its loot drops, Ranger, which is, it takes some time for it to charge and then shoot. Alright, moving on to enemies in the desolate terrains. Dreadling comes first. D tier. Dreadling is probably one of the most pointless enemies in the game, almost the same as the Purveyor, except it is much more mobile. It doesn't even do anything, but it charges and then comes and hits you and deals a less amount of damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage to you. And if this enemy suddenly disappears from the game, no one would ever miss it. Next is Sentry, another D tier. This enemy looked like it wanted to copy Scraplash, except it failed miserably. They cannot move, they don't appear in groups, and it often gets destroyed before it can even aim its bullet towards you. Its only redeeming point that it drops magnifiers, but even if it does drop magnifiers, it isn't enough to put it up to C tier. It's just a terrible enemy in the worst stage to farm anything in. Next is Thornhead, C tier. Thornhead is a very decent enemy with respectable damage. Also, the only downside of this enemy is that it cannot climb up to higher or lower ceiling heights in the desolate drains. Next is Obstron, S tier. Obstron is one of the better designed enemies in the game. It shoots mortars and explodes on contact and deals a lot of damage. If you get hit by all of its mortars, it's gonna end up very terrible for you. Now, the boss of Desolate Terrains, Forgeheart. A tier. Forgeheart attacks are just mainly because very easy to dodge. And also, it shoots flames because it uses its flames on the pipes. And if there's pipes sticking out, it uses flames in the pipes and then shoots out on contact. You can tell because you need to pay attention of the light. Because if Forgeheart is attacking, then Forgeheart is shooting out flames. You need to pay attention to the light of the pipes. The only downside of this boss enemy that it can't move. It doesn't transfer to anything else because it can't move. And its loot drops are not bad, but it drops Ember, a little difficult item. Almost the same as Orbital. I would put Forgeheart into S tier if it didn't drop Ember, much like Orbital, which is a little difficult item to control. Alright, Moving on to Icy Hollow enemies. First enemy is a Spring King, S tier. Much like Springling, Spring King is one of the most adorable enemies in the game. It jumps and then faces splash onto you, and it is 100% pet behavior because it is a very common enemy. Next is Tunneler, absolutely a D tier. Tunneler's attacks are just really bad. By the time you realize there's a tunneler trying to attack you, you have already avoided its attack, so it misses you 99% of the time. And its loot drops are also equally garbage. Next is Annihilator. Very short S tier. Annihilator is one of the hardest boss which I absolutely hate the most. It shoots a laser at you and deals a lot of damage, which I absolutely hate the most. It also comes in groups with enemies. Next is Thumper, S tier. Thumper does a great job, but it can't move, but it uses icicles to deal decent amount of damage. It charges up and then it stomps and then shoots out icicles. It also drops the note, one of the very important items in the game. Next is Tetherhawk, another solid S tier. Tetherhawk is 100% of the perfect design enemies. It uses wires, and also it is much like Thumper, but this time it uses its wires and it turns them very electrical, and it always comes in groups and sometimes it doesn't come in groups. And if you get surrounded by Tetherhawks, it quickly becomes dangerous. Alright, and last but not the least in the kinetic workshop enemies. First one is Reaver, B tier. A fly enemy that uses a drill to attack. Unfortunately, it suffers the same problem as Tunneler. However, it is a very common enemy that Tunneler that it drops propellers. Next is Shatterclaw, S tier. Shatterclaw is a very dangerous enemy because it charges up and it tries to grab you. If it catches you, it grabs you and smashes you into the ground repeatedly, and it won't stop until you or if get destroyed. It takes some time for it to be destroyed, and also it is a very common enemy that drops monkey fires. Next is Cyclovane, A tier. Cyclovane is pretty much an oversized flaring, and also it is a very flying enemy, but this time it can now aim its bullet. One of its bullets are always almost useless, and generally there's nothing special about this enemy. It's just a basic flying enemy in the game. Next is Bilespire, S tier. Bilespire actively is one of the perfect designed enemies. Its bullets slowly go down into the ground, and also it deals a lot of damage to overwhelm you. Now, the boss of Kinetic Workshop, the last enemy, the boss enemy, Stridelord, S tier. the strongest boss in the game in terms of health. You can easily defeat it by simply destroying one of its legs. While it deals respectable damage, I consider Stride Lord as one of the hardest bosses in the game, which I absolutely hate the most. Almost same as the Annihilator. And there you have it, everybody. All core-bound enemies has been ranked on a tier list. Some of the enemies I do need to uh, put them in my preference, but I don't care right now. Design won't let enemies go into the worst rankings. So, everyone, what do you guys think? So, do you agree with this tier list or not? If not, then what will you have changed? If you agree with this tier list, check in this video again. If you don't agree with it, just make it on your own, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The all core bound enemies ranking items.